Some of the greatest growth in realization of understanding that I've had is through loss. And in losing a thing, I discover a deeper realization for myself of what the true purpose and meaning of that thing was. I was born into a civilization with insurance companies. I was told what they are. But I really didn't understand what they could be until after they had failed me. Once they failed me repeatedly, over and over and over, including the judicial process, and the attorneys involved. All along, the whole group, This is very interesting because I ended up playing the role that I was living. There were aspects that I was completely blind to because I didn't have any experience. I didn't understand what it was. I was just going by what I was told. And then I ended up playing that role of a life, a case for the insurance company and the attorneys and the judges that showed all of them their failures, where I had fallen through the cracks. And I find this very, very interesting how the internal experience of what I'm trying to learn can be reflected externally in objective events, seemingly unrelated. I know I've played that role where I am making the judge and the attorneys and the insurance companies aware of how they failed me miserably because they were just doing what came natural to them, which was their status quo, what just happened to be the situation at hand, the case at hand. It's just very interesting. Now, changing my behavior after this, in Campbell's series, there is this return to life with the moon. The hero goes on this metaphysical journey, this mystical journey. But there is a point where they must return with the big boon that enlivens life. This is the realization and understanding. Now, I've learned it's not what you got, but what you do with it. It's not so much what you do as how you do it. And as far as the legal systems go, I realize they have their own way of doing things. And when somebody gets entrenched in their own little habitual behavior of doing things, it's very difficult for them to see anything other. And it may be that the habit that they're in is actually the source of the problem at hand. So there's that saying, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. My enemy's enemy is my friend, kind of thing. Where it's important to go into, in my instance, go into the courtroom prepared. In my instance, there's no attorney available for me. I have to contend with the system myself. But you see, these guys, they're all a clique. They all know how they do it. They get off to doing it together. And here comes me telling them the facts of their failures. And they really don't want to know that stuff. They don't want to integrate that stuff. It just don't feel good. Don't feel right. And, talking to them this way, if I could ever get a chance to talk to them this way, they would be able to understand to a point. However, they would question all of it, and, why should they change, for me when everything is not presented in the right form. And as far as my pain goes and my physical therapy and my limitations, there's only so much energy I can put forth into this. Ultimately, they're all getting paid a paycheck. They can work at this, for hours and hours and days and weeks and months and years, as it has been years, and nothing could ever be done. But they're all affirmed to have a job because I keep coming back. I keep coming back and saying I got the same old problem I've always had. And they keep saying, well, they have the right to appeal, and there's all these excuses we have to excuse ourselves from being responsible and accountable to you. And they really don't want to hear any of this stuff. At least within my limited ability to endure the long drawn out process. So I guess this is where the courage comes in, where you've just got to have that fearsome encouragement that pushes you through. Anyway, it's getting to the point now where I have stopped and analyzed and come to terms with so many of my own totems, those aspects of myself that have possessed myself in the past, that now I'm seeing them in other people's lives, and I can see how they are possessed by their established belief structure and the gods and goddesses within them, and as well as the demons they try and fend off. And I haven't been blessed with the kind of life that has allowed me to make excuses for myself, because it's come back on me to, continue to eat and continue to live somewhere and continue to try to be at peace and desire well-being, not only for myself but for others. That, I can't afford what they can afford. I'm reminded of a couplet. I wouldn't wish what I've been through on my best friend that they may understand, and I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy out of bitter-hearted revenge. Mainly because I don't think they'd make it. And whether I think they will or not really doesn't matter. I don't want to risk it. Because I've had people lie, cheat, and steal, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I genuinely see this bankruptcy of spirit in people, and I'm just reminded of so many holy men and mystics talking about this. You get to the point where you see it everywhere, but ultimately, if you don't do something about it, if you don't take affirmative action, there's a self-defilement that occurs, and that can do way more damage if you don't move from that inner life pulse outwardly. If you deny that inner life pulse, or if you shame it or defile it in some way, if you don't honor it, it just never ceases to amaze me how many arguments everybody wants to get into, and how much, they can produce these great personas out into the world where they get all these accolades and paychecks and careers and titles, and it leaves them completely incapable of integrating anything that brings them back down to earth. Just in my experience, which is the thing that I want to change, which is the thing I'm coming to terms with. Auseinandersetzung.